What is space settlement? The International Space Station has been continuously occupied for the last 25 years. But are they settled there? No one thinks of the ISS as home. They're not going to retire there. They're not going to raise their kids there. So what does it mean to settle? Dictionary.cambridge.org defines settle as to go and live somewhere permanently. Consider, in the game Settlers of Catan, you build settlements from resources that you've collected locally, the sheep, the grain, the wood, the rock, the brick. In the same way, if we're going to build settlements in space, we're going to have to collect local resources. Local being a relative term here. There's a fancy term for locally collected resources in space: in situ resource utilization, ISRU, sometimes pronounced ISRU. So what do we need? We need air, food, water, all in some kind of container to keep it together and protect what's inside from radiation. But that's just barely to stay alive. We want to like being there. So we're going to want things like gravity, sunlight with day-night cycle, open air, privacy, and a good internet connection. But that's just kind of staying alive still. We're also going to want things like restaurants, stores, swimming pools, schools for the kids. And speaking of kids, a settlement's not really a settlement if there's never a next generation. But even all this is just living. A settlement is also a place to work. People like me, software developer, just need that good internet connection. But there's so much more that can be done, such as collecting local resources. In Catan, there's 5 different resources: brick, rock, grain, wood, and sheep. In space, there's the moon and the asteroids, which we can collect rocks from them, and we can collect the regolith and turn it into something a lot like brick. But we can refine those resources and get out of them the elements: iron, titanium, carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, hydrogen, and then work them into tools, floors, walls, ceilings, cutlery, and all those things that we use in life. And once we have that with open air and gravity, we can grow plants and crops and animals, which means we can have space farms. And eventually we can grow trees for wood and fresh fruit. Now, in the last 60 years that humans have been in space, we found there's 2 big medical issues. One is you're living in microgravity. That's what you see when you see astronauts like spinning just in the air, and they're sitting upside down relative to each other, and their hair is out like some kind of halo around their heads, which is all fun and fine, except that in microgravity, muscles and bones atrophy. They get weak. And that's not a great way to raise your kids. The other problem is that when you don't have kilometers of air between you and outer space, there's radiation. Radiation that can cause all kinds of medical issues. Now, back in the 70s, Gerard K. O'Neill suggested we build large cylinders. Close them up, rotate them to produce artificial gravity. If you go fast enough, and they're big enough, you can have a full G, same as what we have here on Earth. Then once you've got that, if you make the walls and floor thick enough, you can protect yourself from the radiation. And if you make them big enough, you can have open air. And if you play tricks with mirrors and windows, you can even have a day-night schedule. And you can build apartment towers along the end caps and houses along the floor, along with the restaurants and shops and schools and all the fun stuff. This is the first in a series of videos that I want to explore the problems and opportunities in trying to settle in space. If you want, you can subscribe to get more.